The life of Amy Slayton, star of the 1,000-Pound Sisters, abruptly took a horrible turn. Amy was diagnosed with liver cancer as a result of her lengthy history of heavy smoking and disregard for her health. Following a medical evaluation, it was determined that she had a very dangerous ailment. The whole family was in a state of anguish and panic. Amy was admitted to the emergency intensive care unit right away. While other family members attempted to cope with the sound of sobbing and panic inside the hospital, Amy's sister Tammy, displaying a selfless spirit, chose to care for her sister's infant. Meanwhile, Amy's husband, Brian Lovehorn, faced an unknown danger with the young child. In the midst of the loss, the fear, and the innumerable struggles, a bond of intense love and selflessness was developing between them. Amy Slayton's family has learned the value of life, the significance of love in the family, and the importance of supporting one another. They have supported one another through really trying moments because they think that they can overcome anything as a team. When the news came in, the antiseptic hospital windows were barely illuminated by the morning sun, and it was worse than anyone had anticipated. Liver cancer had been identified in 1,000-Pound Sisters' lively but perpetually troubled star, Amy Slayton. Her situation was critical. The doctor's comments reverberated in the room, weighty and frigid. The family, who were accustomed to helping one another through difficult times, felt life's tenuous hold loosen. Desperation and panic hung in the air like a dense mist. Brian Lovehorn, Amy's husband, stood still, clutching their small kid. Sensing the tension but unable to comprehend its seriousness, the child's naive eyes darted between the grown-ups. Fear was gnawing at Brian nonstop, but he knew he had to be strong, and the weight of responsibility was suffocating him. Other family members attempted to comprehend the news in the interim. Their generally friendly and humorous expressions were suddenly marred by tears, bewilderment, and powerlessness. Amy's loyal sister, Tammy Slayton, came out in the midst of the confusion. Her eyes blazed with determination, yet her hands shook a little. She took the infant from Brian with gentle care, holding it close to her as though it were the most valuable thing in the world. Tammy whispered quietly, her voice firm despite the tempest boiling inside her. "Go to her. Amy needs us." She became the much-needed anchor for the family in that instant. The sight that greeted Brian as he hurried to Amy's side broke his heart. Amy was weak and pale, but her eyes flashed with recognition when she saw him. He held her hand while he made promises he wasn't sure he could follow through on. They were bound together by a single, unbreakable thread that mixed love, terror, and sadness. The family gathered outside the intensive care unit. Tammy's altruistic deed of taking care of the infant grew to represent hope. Once quarreling over insignificant issues, relatives now stood silently in solidarity. Their looks, which conveyed a mixture of anguish, resolve, and a fresh understanding of life's frailty, were more powerful than words. They came to see that despite everything, their love was strong enough to endure even the most terrible storms. The days became nights. Amy experienced feelings of relief and sadness in equal proportion as her situation changed. Nevertheless, the family found new levels of strength in each uncertain moment. Once paralyzed by dread, Brian found strength in Tammy's encouragement. Once seen as a silent spectator of life, Tammy evolved into the epitome of kindness. And in spite of her pain, Amy took comfort in the constant presence of her loved ones. The hospital room gradually changed from being a place of sobs and fear to one of silent fortitude. Whispered prayers became the background music for their days. Family dinners were shared by Amy's bedside, and when the child giggled, little bursts of laughter drifted down the hallways. Perhaps for the first time, they realized that although life is fleeting, love endures forever, and that family ties can withstand even the most dreadful hardships. Ultimately, what started off as a depressing event turned into evidence of how resilient people can be. Amidst sorrow, anxiety, and doubt, a vital lesson surfaced. No obstacle is too big, no darkness too profound, and no disease too harsh to conquer when hearts are together. The Slayton family discovered together that love, sacrifice, and steadfast unity could illuminate the path forward even in the face of life's most trying circumstances. But the curtains of Amy Slayton's little but comfortable living room, letting golden light as the morning sun of Dixon, Kentucky, broke through the clouds. It was a significant day that neither Amy nor Tammy had anticipated. The Slayton sisters were finally traveling to London, England, for their ideal international vacation after years of hardships, surgeries, and reality TV mayhem. Amy was running about the house with her typical flurry of frantic and excited energy, still wearing her fluffy pink robe. On the couch, her two little boys were pretending to be flying to London while playing with toy airplanes. It might be wise for you guys to pack your teddy bears. Hey, everyone, we're crossing the ocean. Amy's voice was full of delight as she laughed. Tammy, meantime, was sitting in her wheelchair close to the kitchen table, looking at images of Buckingham Palace, Big Ben, and the London Eye. I swear, Amy, she smirked, I'm going to roll myself straight into the River Thames if we don't see the Queen's palace. Amy laughed. The Queen is gone, girl. We may still wave to the King, though. Tammy gave a sharp gasp. My goodness, I forgot. So we'd best appear like royalty as well. You think London folks ready for the Slayton sister style? Amy glanced at her sister, picturing Tammy wearing her leopard print trousers and sparkling pink blouse. London isn't prepared for us, Tammy. The days running up to the trip were sheer turmoil. Tammy was more interested in fashion, while Amy spent hours preparing, including clothes, makeup, snacks, and an entire box of peanut butter crackers because she wasn't sure she would enjoy fancy British food. She insisted on wearing new clothes, a vacation wig, and big sunglasses because she wanted to seem bougie for the trip. Chris, their brother, stopped by to lend a hand. You guys are aware that they drive on the incorrect side of the road over there? He made fun of it. Tammy's gaze expanded. What? Do you imply that the driver occupies the opposite seat? Not at all. I refuse to get into any reverse vehicles. Amy started giggling. You're not even capable of driving, Tammy. Chris gave a headshake. London will become famous for the wrong reasons thanks to you guys. The sisters sat outside and watched the sunset the night before the journey. You know, Amy, we used to talk about traveling when we were big. Tammy, who had been quieter than usual, finally added. I never imagined that day would come. With sparkling eyes, Tammy grinned. She would. However, I believe she would advise against overindulging in fish and chips. The sound of their laughter blended with the crickets chirping. In typical Slayton flair, the sisters created quite a stir at the airport. While Tammy sped ahead in her motorized chair as if she owned the area, Amy was balancing her children, her carry-on, and a dozen snacks. They were immediately recognized by security personnel. I can't believe it's the 1,000-pound sisters. An excited flight attendant murmured. Tammy smiled with pride. Yes, that is who we are. Additionally, I brought my own seatbelt extender, so don't worry, honey. After a long journey filled with laughs, photos, and Amy's frightened screams during turbulence, the sisters finally landed in London. Tammy gazed around with wonder as they rode through Heathrow Airport. This place sounds rather upscale. Accents were even used on the signs. Amy laughed. That's only British English, girl. Their adventures started right away, including trying to learn British terminology, taking pictures next to the red phone booths, and seeing the London Eye. While Tammy maintained that she was too American for tiny sandwiches, Amy fell in love with afternoon tea. Amy muttered, You think we'll ever top this, Tammy? As they stood on Westminster Bridge one evening, seeing the lights of Big Ben reflect on the Thames River. Tammy gave a quiet smile. No. But we'll try. And with that, the two Kentucky small-town girls clasped hands, demonstrating that dreams could still soar despite how difficult life had previously felt. They were now standing in one of the biggest cities on Earth. Just the way they enjoy it, the Slayton sisters' voyage through London is one of healing, laughing, and a little bit of mayhem. But in Dixon, Kentucky, the Monday morning dawned bright. Amy and Tammy Slayton were already up, getting ready for one of the most significant days of their trip, the official weigh-in day. The sun was shining and birds were chirping. For months, the sisters had been putting in a lot of effort, going to therapy sessions, going on long walks together, and adhering to strict diets. The scale would finally display everything they had done today. Tying her hair back and inhaling deeply, Amy stepped before the mirror. "Today is the day, girl," she murmured, smiling as she turned to face Tammy. "I sense it. Dr. Smith is about to be shocked." Sitting on her mobility scooter, Tammy grinned despite rolling her eyes. "Yes, I do hope so, Amy. For weeks, all I've been eating is grilled chicken and steamed vegetables. I'm going to hurl this scale out the window if it doesn't move." Amy chuckled. "Sis, don't worry. You've gone a long way. Do you recall a time when you were unable to stand for very long? Look at you now, you spent 5 whole minutes last week entering the clinic without the scooter." Tammy gave a quiet smile. "Yes, 5 minutes seemed like an eternity. However, I'm not giving up." Cameras followed the sisters as they prepared to leave for the weight loss clinic, documenting each anxious look and reassuring remark. It wasn't simply another episode, it was a milestone in their story. Dr. Smith gave them a warm welcome to the Kentucky Bariatric Center. "It's nice to see you all again, ladies. Your physical therapist and dietitian have been telling me positive things. Let's check out your progress." Amy took the lead. As she stepped onto the scale, her heart was racing. There was silence for a while. The numerals then began to flash. 279 pounds. Dr. Smith declared. Amy's mouth fell open. "Hold on, are you serious? I began at 406. Tammy slapped her hands together and gasped. "That's incredible, Amy." Amy's eyes were filled with tears. "I really did it. I did it." Dr. Smith grinned. "That's a loss of more than 125 pounds. You've been dependable and committed, Amy. You have my admiration." Next was Tammy's time. She gripped the rails securely and stepped slowly onto the scale, causing everyone to hold their breath. The numbers flickered, the machine beeped, and then it stopped. 482 pounds, Dr. Smith said, smiling. "Tammy, you've lost 68 pounds since your last visit." As though she couldn't believe it, Tammy blinked. "Wait, really?" Amy shrieked and raced to embrace her sister. "Girl, I told you. I informed you." Tears streaming from her eyes, Tammy chuckled and gave her a hug in return. "I didn't believe I could pull it off. I now see a future, whereas before I feared I would be stuck forever." The sisters enjoyed bottles of water and watched the sunset while sitting outside the clinic following the weigh-in. They were discussing dreams instead of failure or frustration for the first time in a long time. Amy responded, "I want to ride a roller coaster," with a bright smile. For example, the large ones at Six Flags. "I want to let forth my loudest shout." Tammy laughed. "You know I'm afraid of heights, girl." Amy nudged her. "The Ferris wheel will thereafter be our first stop. Baby steps." With a smile, Tammy gazed up at the sky. "Amy, I just want to live. Like, live it up. No more restrictions. No more suffering. Simply put, freedom." Amy grabbed her hand and held it. "We're gonna get there together." As the two sisters sat side by side, exhausted but victorious, emotional but stronger than ever, the cameras pan out. For the first time, Amy and Tammy genuinely thought they could make it to the finish line, even though their adventure was far from over. And at that point, the scale's readings were no longer important. It was about two sisters who were determined to keep on, both for themselves and for one another. But Amy Slayton eventually made the decision that it was time to genuinely heal, not just her body, but her soul, after years of battling with her health, emotions, and family issues. Months had passed since her imprisonment, the ensuing public outcry, and her traumatic split from Michael. Tammy, her sister, had moved out on her own and was concentrating on her new marriage and weight loss. Amy was left to reconstruct herself in the interim, by herself, but with a strong will. Amy woke up before dawn on a calm Dixon, Kentucky morning. She didn't grab her phone or browse social media for the first time in a long time. Rather, she took a steaming cup of coffee outside and enjoyed the refreshing morning air. She said to herself, "I'm still here," as the sky remained a gentle shade of pink. "I remain upright." She once dismissed the fact that she had begun going to therapy once a week. Her childhood bullying and toxic relationships that made her feel worthless were among the deep emotional pains she had been carrying for years, but her therapist, Dr. Maddie Lewis, helped her discover them. Even though Amy sobbed a lot throughout those sessions, every cry contributed to the healing process. She also started concentrating on modest objectives rather than lofty, intimidating ones. Every Saturday morning, she attended a local women's fitness group. She was scared the first day she appeared. However, Amy sensed a change when the instructor greeted her with a broad smile and remarked, "You showed up. That's all that matters." She was re-establishing her relationship with her two boys at home. She began preparing healthier meals, going on long walks in the park, and dancing with them in the living room. She felt a calmness she hadn't experienced in years as she put them to bed every night. During this period, Tammy was one of her strongest supports. Every night, the sisters shared tales of their hardships and minor triumphs. Tammy was happier than ever and had shed more pounds. She frequently told Amy, "Girl, you're stronger than you think. Perfection is not the goal of healing. It's about persevering." After several months, Amy started to see noticeable changes. Her grin was sincere once more, her heart was at ease, and her body felt lighter. For her followers, she even began making brief, candid vlogs about her recovery. She displayed her everyday life, including peaceful periods, giggles with her children, preparing nutritious meals, and occasionally, tears of thankfulness, in place of the previous dramatic material. She received a call from TLC producers one day. Amy agreed without hesitation when they asked to record a special episode called Amy's Healing Journey. She wanted others to know that healing was possible, regardless of how shattered someone felt, not because she wanted to become famous again. Amy, dressed in a vibrant flowery dress, was standing in front of her modest Kentucky house when the cameras started rolling. Tammy gave her a back embrace as her sons ran around in the yard. Amy said, staring at the camera, "Healing isn't pleasant. It hurts, is slow, and is disorganized. However, you can succeed if I can, despite all of my shortcomings, errors, and history." Fans everywhere were moved to tears when the program aired months later. They witnessed a reborn Amy, one who was strong, genuine, and unrestrained, rather than the chaotic, dramatic Amy of the past. Amy was enjoying the sunset by the river next to her house at the end of the episode. "This is my second chance, and I'm not wasting it," she said with a gentle grin and a whisper. And she believed it for the first time in a very long time. But the tone in the Slayton residence was not lifted by the bright Kentucky morning sun. Producers were whispering, cameras were rolling, and Amy Slayton sat quietly on the couch with tears in her eyes. Days previously, news had leaked that Amy Slayton, star of TLC's 1,000-Pound Sisters, had been arrested for possession of drugs. All around, the headlines read, "Amy Slayton in trouble again." After Amy and her husband, Michael, separated a few months ago, everything started. Amy, who was experiencing stress and loneliness, went to a group of pals who weren't the greatest role models. Just trying something to relax quickly turned into something more sinister. She wasn't the upbeat, vivacious Amy that her admirers adored. Tammy was the first to notice. During one of their phone conversations, Tammy had expressed concern, saying, "Something's off with you, sis. You always sound exhausted, and your kids, Amy, they depend on you." Amy dismissed her. "Tammy, I'm all right. I'm simply exhausted." She wasn't okay, though. Her automobile was ringed by flashing blue lights outside a convenience shop one night after she had accumulated late nights, missed calls from her mother, and forgotten filming days. Within hours, the police report was made public. Tammy sobbed upon hearing the news. Having struggled with food, health, and self-worth for years, Tammy understood how easily one could crumble under stress. She was the stronger one for once. The family therefore made the decision to plan a surprise intervention for Amy in collaboration with TLC producers and a qualified intervention counselor. Amy entered her living room that Sunday morning anticipating another typical day of filming. Instead, she noticed her entire family seated in a circle, including her mother, Tammy, Chris, Amanda, and Misty. There was silence now, no cameras rolling. Chris whispered, "We're not here to pass judgment on you, Amy. We adore you, which is why we are here. But you require assistance." Amy's hands were shaking as she froze. "You guys don't get it. I didn't intend for things to go this terrible. I was simply—" Tammy broke in softly, her voice breaking. "Yes, Amy, I understand. I've been there. Do you recall my near-death experience? You persisted in trying to reach me. It's my turn now to persevere with you." Amy's face was filled with tears. She became aware for the first time that she was in danger of losing everything, including herself, her family, her program, and her children. Hours were spent on the intervention. Amy heard the heartfelt words of every family member. Even her mother, who was not usually emotional, broke down in tears and exclaimed, "Amy Lynn, you have two handsome boys who admire you. Make sure they don't recall this narrative." Amy ultimately consented to enroll in a recovery program. Later, she was seen on camera giving Tammy a firm hug before heading off. "Don't disappoint me," Tammy said. "We Slayton girls been through hell and back. However, we won't be staying there." Months passed. Amy persevered through the challenging detox, therapy, and painful self-reflection that came with rehab. She regained her strength with every letter from her sons and encouraging video message from her family. Amy sat on the same couch where the intervention had started when she eventually made it home, feeling stronger in heart but weaker in spirit. This time, there were no tears, just appreciation. She whispered to the camera, "I thought I lost everything, but what I really found was myself. You have to fall sometimes to see how strong you are." Tammy squeezed her hand and joined her. "Sis, welcome back." And for the first time in ages, Amy smiled. Not the TV fake smile, but a genuine, restorative one. It wasn't simply another 1,000-pound sisters episode. It was a tale of second chances, sisterhood, and redemption. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Mina, and I hope you're having a great day. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the video.